For decades, textbooks told a simple story, that Neanderthals were descendants of Java man and Peking man, eastern branches of early humans that slowly marched westward into Europe. It was a neat, comforting idea, one that made human evolution look tidy, almost inevitable. But science rarely stays still. What if that story we once believed so completely was only half the truth? Around 400,000 years ago, Earth entered a time of warmth known as marine isotope stage 11. Ice melted. Oceans rose nearly 30 feet higher than today. Across the Eurasian landscape, grasslands flourished, rivers widened, and early humans spread out into new territories. For a brief moment, the planet seemed generous. Yet nature's kindness never lasts forever. Cycles of drought and flood soon followed, tearing through ecosystems and forcing our ancestors to adapt or disappear. What did those changes do to us? Did shifting climates simply move populations, or did they reshape the very way humans thought, created, and survived? These are not just ancient mysteries. They are clues to who we are. In this story, we'll journey across continents from the caves of Zuttiyeh in Israel to the dusty plains of southern India, where unexpected discoveries are rewriting everything we thought we knew about human origins. Fossils once dismissed, tools once misdated, and climates once misunderstood now tell a far more complex tale, one that challenges the idea that humanity began in a single place and spread outward. Could it be that our story didn't start in one cradle, but in many linked across deserts, rivers, and mountains? The answer may lie at the crossroads between Africa and Eurasia, where the lines of our shared past begin to blur into one. When we look back at the deep timeline of Earth, two periods stand out like bookends to a great transformation: marine isotope stage 13 and stage 11. These were times when the planet's rhythm shifted between warmth and cold, between abundance and collapse. MIS 13, 500,000 years ago, brought one of the earliest bursts of life after long glacial isolation. Then came MIS 11, a stretch of relative warmth that lasted for tens of thousands of years, a rare pause when ice retreated and green landscapes reclaimed the continents. For early humans, these ages were both opportunity and trial. During MIS 11, the world was lush and forgiving. Rivers ran wide through what is now Europe and Western Asia. Forests thickened, animals thrived, and human groups spread far beyond their previous limits. But that comfort was fragile. Around 400,000 years ago, the pendulum swung again. Rains vanished, lakes dried to dust, grasslands turned to scrub, vast herds of grazing animals disappeared, taking with them the foundation of early human survival. To endure, our ancestors had to do more than move. They had to think differently. They learned to read the landscape, to store water, to shape stone not just for cutting but for planning. It was in these intervals of chaos that the first sparks of human ingenuity ignited. When the world forced change upon them, early humans answered with creativity. Every natural upheaval became a kind of cultural revolution. Each drought or flood was not merely a disaster, it was a classroom, shaping minds to anticipate, adapt, and innovate. This was the moment humanity began to evolve in two directions at once: physically, through survival in new climates, and mentally, through invention and foresight. The Earth was no longer just our environment, it had become our greatest teacher. And as those lessons deepened, somewhere in the hills of the ancient Levant, a fossil would soon emerge to reveal just how far that transformation had already gone. High above the ancient shores of the Sea of Galilee lies a cave known as Zuttiyeh. In 1925, deep within its shadowed chambers, archaeologists uncovered fragments of a human skull, the frontal bone, cheekbone, and part of the sphenoid. At first glance, it seemed like just another fossil among many. But as researchers brushed away the dust of hundreds of thousands of years, they realized this discovery would not fit neatly into any box. It would blur the very borders of what it meant to be human. Dating the skull was not easy. The surrounding layers of sediment, tied to the Acheulo-Hebridean cultural complex, placed it somewhere between 200,000 and 500,000 years ago. That time frame makes it one of the oldest human fossils in Southwest Asia, positioned right at the heart of the corridor that connects Africa, Europe, and Asia, a literal crossroads of continents. For scientists, that geography mattered. If humans were truly evolving in multiple regions, then the Levant was where those stories would inevitably collide. But who was the person from Zuttiyeh? Was this a descendant of Homo erectus, a primitive Neanderthal, or perhaps one of the earliest forms of Homo sapiens? For decades, scholars argued, each measurement seemed to tell a different tale. Early studies emphasized its heavy brow and thick bones features reminiscent of Homo erectus. Later analyses pointed to more delicate facial angles, hinting at an early modern human. The debates circled endlessly, mirroring the uncertainty of our own origins. Then new technology changed everything. Using 3D geometric morphometrics, digital scans mapping subtle curves of the face, researchers compared the Zuttiyeh skull to fossils across Africa and Eurasia. The results were startling. Zuttiyeh shared traits with both Neanderthals and early Homo sapiens, yet it fit perfectly with neither. It represented something in between, a generalized morphology that could belong to the population from which both species ultimately diverged. This idea gave rise to a new concept, the Levantine lineage. According to recent studies, ancient people of the Levant may have served as a bridge population, linking evolving groups from Africa with those expanding across Eurasia. The cave of Zuttiyeh, once thought to contain an evolutionary outlier, now stood as evidence of connection. And that is where the emotional weight of this fossil lies. One skull, silent for 500,000 years, has the power to challenge one of humanity's deepest narratives that we came from one place, one origin, one cradle. Zuttiyeh whispers a different story, that our beginnings were plural, intertwined, and shaped by exchange. But this is only the first piece of the puzzle. Far to the east, in the vast plains of India, another discovery would raise an even bigger question, one that could rewrite the path of human intelligence itself. If the cave of Zuttiyeh revealed a bridge between species, the plains of southern India revealed a bridge between minds. In a quiet region called Attirampakkam, near the city of Chennai, archaeologists uncovered more than 7,000 stone tools scattered across ancient sediments. They were not crude rocks or broken flakes, they were deliberate, elegant, and astonishingly old. Radiometric dating placed them at nearly 385,000 years ago, give or take 64,000. That single number sent shockwaves through the scientific world. Before this discovery, most believed that the Levallois technique, a sophisticated method of shaping stones into precise, symmetrical points, appeared only about 100,000 years ago, and only after modern humans had left Africa. But the tools of Attirampakkam told a different story. Here, long before Homo sapiens was supposed to exist in India, someone had already mastered the art of planning ahead. Each flake was struck with intention. Each edge was shaped to a pattern that existed first in the mind, then in the hand. The transition from the old Acheulean hand-axe tradition to this new Levallois style was more than technological. It was psychological. It marked a turning point when humans stopped reacting to their environment and began anticipating it. The people who made these tools could imagine a result before it existed, a spark of abstraction that mirrors the way we think today. And yet, no human bones were found beside these tools. The site remains silent about who its craftsmen were. Were they archaic humans native to South Asia, descendants of an earlier Homo erectus population? Or could they have been early travelers from the Levant, perhaps distant relatives of the beings represented by the Zuttiyeh skull? The absence of bodies leaves only the tools to speak, and what they say is profound. Attirampakkam suggests that intelligence was not born in a single place or at a single moment. It flickered independently wherever survival demanded imagination. From the caves of Israel to the riverbeds of India, the story is the same. Even in deep prehistory, humanity's greatest tool was not the stone in its hand, but the idea behind it. Traveling north from Attirampakkam along the wide river valleys of central India, another fragment of our deep past waited to be found. It was here, near the banks of the Narmada River, that archaeologists uncovered a single human skullcap thick, weathered, and unlike anything seen before. The fossil, known as the Narmada or Narmada calvarium, dates to around 300,000 years ago. Studies suggest it once belonged to a woman, her brain volume estimated between 1,155 and 1,421 cubic centimeters, a size that sits comfortably within the range of early Homo sapiens. But the mystery lies in the shape. The Narmada skull carries features from three worlds: the robust brow ridges of Homo erectus, the rounded cranial vault of archaic Homo sapiens, and subtle hints of Neanderthal proportions. It is, quite literally, a mosaic of humanity, a fusion of traits that defies any single label. Was she the descendant of an ancient Asian lineage that evolved in isolation? Or was she the child of two worlds, born from the meeting of Western and Eastern populations somewhere in this very corridor? Some anthropologists believe the Narmada woman stands as evidence of hybridization, a moment when different human groups intermingled long before the migrations of modern humans. India, lying between Africa and Southeast Asia, may have been more than a passageway. It may have been a melting ground of genes and ideas. Symbolically, she represents more than a fossil. She is a testament to connection. Her skull, shaped by time and diversity, tells a quiet truth. Humanity has never been a single thread, but a tapestry woven from many origins. Narmada's face may be lost to us, but her story still bridges the East and the West in our shared evolution. Across hundreds of millennia, the pulse of the planet shaped the pulse of the human mind. The same climatic rhythms that define marine isotope stages 11 and 13, the cycles of ice and warmth, drought and abundance, also define the tempo of human progress. Each rise in temperature opened green corridors across Eurasia, while each cooling phase sealed them shut again, forcing populations to adapt, migrate, and rethink how to survive. These swings in climate didn't just change landscapes, they rewired the way humans thought. Archaeological and biological evidence now shows that the pace of human evolution accelerated dramatically over the last 400,000 years. Brain size stabilized, but complexity grew, language networks expanded, planning became instinctive, and culture began to outpace biology. The Acheulean hand axe of earlier ages gave way to the refined Levallois point, a symbol not only of technological change but of cognitive awakening. It was no coincidence. Instability bred innovation. Whenever the world shifted, humans turned uncertainty into invention. Through these fluctuations, two regions became vital arteries in the flow of our evolution: the Levant and South Asia. They weren't just migration routes, they were zones of exchange where ideas, genes, and technologies crossed paths. From the caves of Israel to the plains of India, people shared more than stone and fire. They shared imagination. Seen from above, our past is not a straight line stretching from Africa outward, but a living web threads of migration and creativity weaving across continents. Climate was the loom, technology was the thread, and through each weave, humanity learned to transform, change itself into a tool for survival. From west to east, three names now stand like milestones in the long road of our becoming: Zuttiyeh, Attirampakkam, and Narmada. Each one whispers a chapter of the same great story. A skull hidden in the rock of Galilee, a scatter of tools on the Indian plain, a fossilized skull cap resting beside an ancient river. Together, they reveal a truth more intricate than any single origin tale. Humanity did not emerge from a single spark, but from countless embers glowing across continents, each feeding the other until they became a shared flame. Zuttiyeh showed us that species boundaries blur in the corridors between Africa and Eurasia. Attirampakkam proved that innovation blooms wherever the mind dares to imagine, even far from the supposed centers of progress. And Narmada reminded us that our bloodlines have always been mixtures, weaving east and west long before we learned to name those directions. When you trace these threads together, a new pattern emerges, not a straight line of ascent, but a web of crossings, failures, and rebirths. The history of humankind is not about perfection or purity. It is about persistence, creativity, and connection. Perhaps the true origin of our species does not lie in one continent or one fossil, but in our unending ability to adapt, to learn, and to reach beyond what we are. The story of evolution is, at its core, a story about the courage to change. So, as we close this journey through time, remember that every discovery raises new questions rather than final answers. Keep your curiosity alive, keep questioning, and never stop exploring. Because the past isn't finished, it's still unfolding beneath our feet.